dealing with personal property is always a big issue in probate, and sometimes out-of-state executors wonder how they can deal with that. Well, if they can't come out here, then Arizona has what we call private fiduciaries, and they can help with a lot of these different services. Todd, and I know you work with a lot of different private fiduciaries, so maybe tell our audience what is a private fiduciary and how can they help out-of-state executors?
Yeah, so private fiduciary is a professional personal representative, a professional executor, so to speak, someone that is licensed and bonded and trained and has the experience to deal with all of the issues, whether it be marshaling assets or liquidating assets. One thing that I was wondering from your experience, now that we're getting into kind of beyond the lawyer's job in a probate, what do you think ideally the lawyer's role could be for all of these issues that are above and beyond the legal side of these, specifically for a client that's out of state calling an Arizona
Well, I think
attorney?
that's one advantage of Jet Probate is we have these relationships with private fiduciaries that can be their boots on the ground. We have relationships with realtors, and we'll talk about that in other videos of selling the home, and we can connect them with the right people. And we also have relationships doing estate planning if they want to plan their portion of the inheritance. But that's one thing you want a real experienced probate lawyer to do, is kind of coordinate these other services that can be very, very helpful. But if I think if I was out of state, I'd wonder, first of all, can I serve? Yes, you can. Second of all, are there any barriers? No barriers. The next thing is, well, what about boots on the ground? Well, those are services that can easily be contracted out if need be. And I think the last issue is well, what about paying bills and all these things, and collecting assets from the banks, and collecting the assets. But dealing with paying bills, I mean, it's very easy to reroute the mail to come to wherever you are, so you're seeing all the mail just as if you were going to pick it up from the mailbox. So paying the bills isn't a problem. And then as far as collecting the assets, Todd, you probably know more about that than I do. Can't the executor out of state sign whatever paperwork, and we take it to the bank, and the bank just wires money wherever we want it wired? You don't need to physically walk into a bank anymore and say, give me a cashier's check and I'm going to go deposit it.
Yeah, I think we've been saying for years now that the world is pretty flat. Like we've gotten to the point where there's not much that you need to be here for it to do. Yeah. And so documents, like you say, this world of DocuSign, most of that stuff can take care of itself without having to buy a plane ticket.